Welcome to the Everyday Warrior podcast, where we talk free to break free. As someone who's been told they talk too much, can speak with a mouthful of marbles, and might just be able to sell ice to Eskimos, I have found the perfect space to speak my truth and dive into deep conversations. This podcast is about celebrating everyday warriors, the people who face life's challenges head on, breaking through obstacles to build resilience, strength, and courage. Join me, your host, Trudy Marie, as I sit down with inspiring individuals who have fought their own battles and emerged stronger, sharing raw, real, and authentic stories that make you laugh, cry, debate, wonder, intrigue, feel all the emotions, and get curious about life with. This is a safe space to explore, question, and find your own path to new possibilities. Let us all embrace the warrior within and realize that while no one is walking in your shoes, others are on the same path, journeying through life together. Please note that the following podcast may contain discussions or topics that could be triggering or distressing for some listeners. I aim to provide informative and supportive content, but understand that certain themes may evoke strong emotions or memories. If you find yourself feeling overwhelmed or in need of support while listening, I encourage you to pause the podcast and take a break. Remember that it is okay to prioritize your well-being and seek assistance from trained professionals. There is no shame in this. In fact, it is the first brave step to healing. If you require immediate support, please consider reaching out to Lifeline on 13 11 14 or a crisis intervention service in your area. Thank you for listening, and please take care of yourself as you engage with the content of this podcast. If you're looking for an inspiring story of resilience, healing, and rediscovering yourself, my book, Everyday Warrior, is for you. It's my memoir of hiking the 1,000-kilometre Bibbulmun Track, a journey that was as much about finding my way back to myself as it was about conquering the trail. Through the highs, lows, and everything in between, this book shares my raw and honest experience of overcoming trauma and embracing the strength within. Grab your copy now. Just head to the link in the show notes and let's take this journey together. Love the Everyday Warriors podcast? You can support the show for as little as $5 with a one-time donation or by becoming a monthly subscriber. Your contribution helps me continue bringing you inspiring stories of everyday warriors who overcome challenges to find strength, resilience, and new possibilities in life. Head to the link to buy me a coffee and fuel the next episode. Every bit counts. Welcome to another episode of the Everyday Warriors podcast. And today I have a special guest who I actually met online in an online program a few months ago. And we had an instant connection. She has the most infectious laugh. And we have literally become like long distance friends because today she's dialing in from New Zealand. So I'd like to welcome Jacky. Hey, Jacky.
Hey, Trudy. Thanks for having me.
You're most welcome. It's such a pleasure to have you on the program. And today you've got quite an interesting topic to talk about and one that we've been talking about off camera. But I want to take you all the way back to your 20s when things really started unraveling for you, or that you noticed something was not quite right.
Yes. So if you will envision 22, late 90s, we're meant to have this whole societal picture, 22, nothing to worry about. I was healthy, I was vibrant, neurotic, working really long hours and, a bit of a people pleaser. And one day I cracked. The start of it was I was at work and I slid down the wall and I was paralyzed. I just sat there. I was just lost. I was crying. I'm like, what's going on? I didn't have any emotional intelligence like I do now. And then later on, a week or so later, I was found in the top of a wardrobe by my flatmate's parents. One, how the hell I got up there, I don't know. Two, how did I fit? I mean, I look back now and I'm like, I need more than a bloody ladder to get up there. And, you know, on reflection, that should have been my invitation to get out of my internal nightmare. But it was pretty much just, what's going on? Try to shrug it off. Just, I don't know.
To give some context about like who you were at 22, like do you tell us a little bit about your family and like siblings and where you fit in the family tree?
So I'm the youngest of four girls. I was always the most vibrant one, loved athletics, but I also felt I was trying to find my place all the time. So, you know, what is it you want me to be? Because I'll mold into that. I'll mold into that because really I wanted and craved someone to see me, and being the youngest of four girls, and then everybody else is moving on. And we lived in a very small country town. I felt like I was left behind. I was always playing catch up, always playing catch up.
Mm-hmm. And like, given that you said that you had a breakdown at work, what were you doing as a job at the time?
I was working in an industrial takeaway bar. So nothing really over extravagant, except I was doing really long hours. So I'd be doing 12 hours a day because I wanted to make sure everything was done. I would throw myself into it and I wanted to be praised. I wanted you to feel that I was doing a great job. I was craving any kind of attention. And I just kept doing and doing. And that whole background, you know, growing up, have a teaspoon of concrete, harden up, you know, suck it up, princess. You just, I didn't have that opportunity or even the understanding and the intellect to go, this isn't right for me. It's okay that it's not right for me. I don't have to be all these things for everybody else. But I didn't know that.
It's interesting you say that, and I bring you back to you said before that you didn't have the emotional intelligence. And I myself have two children who are in their early 20s, similar age to what you were when you experienced that kind of breakdown. And again, you also said, like, you know, you were told growing up to take a teaspoon of cement and harden up, kind of thing. And I find it interesting that as a society, that's kind of how we treat our young adults, is that we expect them to have this emotional intelligence, and that they should be young and carefree. And, you know, what have they got to worry about? They're in their early 20s. Yet they've already been through so much emotional trauma or childhood trauma themselves, potentially generational trauma because of how they've been brought up with their parents, grandparents, you know, sayings, phrases, whatever in their ear, that we don't recognize and stop to look at our young adults, that we kind of almost throw them into the world as a young, you know, 20 something year old and go, here you go live it yourself.
It was, you know, also a really impressionable time. From the age of 17 till 21, I was in quite a toxic relationship. And when you're at that age, and I felt very much for myself, that very impressionable coming through. And every day I was told I wasn't thin enough, I wasn't smart enough, and I sure as hell wasn't pretty enough. So to throw that in, and when someone tells you that, who you believe is meant to love you, who wants to be with you and value you, you then start taking that on as a truth. And that all contributed in, and after I finished, we broke up, and then in 22 I'm in another relationship, different person, same mental torment. It just kept on spiraling, and it just imploded.
Yeah. So and at 22, did you have the foresight to seek help? Like, what happened after that breakdown?
Oh, so my flatmate, she said, you know, I think you need to go to the doctor because I believe you're having a breakdown. And she was a bit older. I'm like, oh, okay. So what I do recall, there's not a lot of clarity, is I went to the doctor and I said, I don't understand why I'm not Wonder Woman, why I can't do it all. I'm 22 and I'm meant to be able to do it all. And this is all crumbling. I stand by that. I'm sure he said something of value, but all I remember from that is he gave me a script for Prozac. Here's an antidepressant. Take that. You'll be right. Check out the side effects.
Yeah. And I suppose when you look back to the 90s, mental health is not treated the same way now as it was back then. It was almost like something taboo, something shameful, something you didn't really want to let everybody else know about.
Well, that's why I stopped. Like for the whole 3 months that I was on Prozac, the guilt, the shame, the internal dialogue, the belittling that I gave myself, because again, I'm 22. I should be doing better. Why do I need medication? And I didn't even tell my family about it. I didn't tell my family that I'd had a breakdown. I didn't tell my family that I was on medication because it was so shameful. And I stopped it because I was scared. Imagine going to the pharmacy. Oh gosh, what if I see someone I know? What if the pharmacist wants to ask me questions? What if someone finds out? It was easier for me to stop taking the medication than to be found out, in my mind, to be found out that I'm a fraud. Because again, I'm 22 and what? I can't handle reality, so I cut it.
Wow, that must have been such a difficult position to be in back then that you not only were dealing with this, but dealing with it on your own and feeling those feelings of not being able to even like rely on your family for support.
And it was, when I look back in reflection, I'm sure if I had have said something, that help would have been there, but the shame and the guilt was so ingrained in my mind that it outweighed any effects that medication could offer. It outweighed any possibility of help I could seek. Again, it was just suck it up, lock the door, throw away the key, let's hope it gets better.
Got it. And I know that you moved from New Zealand to Australia not long after that. And I have to ask the question because it's there. Do you feel like you were running away from that life in New Zealand to kind of start afresh in Australia?
Definitely, definitely. Moving to another country, not really knowing anybody, thinking, oh, this is a fresh start. I get to put on this persona. I get to decide what you get to see, what I get to be like. But that didn't really work out either. All it did was I'd throw myself into work. I had 2 jobs, so I didn't have to deal with my internal chatter. I kept running.
And so fast forward through that life here in Australia, I know you were here for, what was it, 25 years living in
Mm-hmm.
Australia?
Yep, 25.
Yeah, and what had you return home to New Zealand?
So I returned home to New Zealand a couple of years ago, post-COVID, with a beautiful husband in tow and 1 little fur baby. And I thought I was returning home to a whole new start, returning home to, this is where my heart is, this is where I'm going to be reconnected, this is where I was going to find my tribe. And that was the case for 2023. And then 2024 hit.
Yeah, I think 2024 has been tough for a lot of people. What happened at the beginning of this year that changed everything?
I left a really, really toxic job environment, extremely toxic job environment, and decided that I needed to find me. And in all honesty, I thought I'd find me in 4 weeks. Woo! It's all good. I'll find me 4 weeks. Had my 49th birthday in the end of January, and I'm like, oh, February. I give myself 4 weeks because by the end of February, beginning of March, I'm going to be this whole new person, and I'm going to have my shit sorted out, and it's going to be all good. We're now near the end of December. And it's now slowly, it's all coming together. But again, that whole concept in my mind, and it was like the bargaining, and it was conditional. Yes, you need to leave that toxic job. Okay, but we're going to give yourself 4 weeks, because in 4 weeks you're going to have it all sorted. You're going to have 25 years of this trauma that you have hidden, sorted in 4 weeks. Not quite. Not quite.
So, what was the turning point for you? Obviously, the 4 weeks was an unrealistic expectation to, deal with 25 years plus of trauma. But what was a turning point for you to start propelling things in the right direction?
So, the big pivotal point was August, and this was when we met. We were on a course together. So, before that, I was delving a lot into the healing modalities, into soul work. So I was on a track of healing. However, I was projecting that out. So I was looking at, I'm going to be healing others. However, it slowly was healing me. And then when we were in a breakout room together, and it came about, because Ben asked us, think about or talk about something that or what you're passionate about. And we were in our breakout room. I don't know if you asked the question to me, and then I remember breaking down and crying, and it was burnout. And that came about, then triggered 25 years before of having my breakdown and not talking about it. So that was really the catalyst, was August.
Wow, I feel such a special part of being that. I can remember being in that room with you and having you really get clarity on what had been holding you back, like literally more than half your life.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. And I think I could have taken out stocks in the tissue company. There was a lot of crying and a lot of snot. But that started it more, that took it deeper. So all the healing and learning that I'd been doing up to that point, I was able to turn it inward. I was able to sit back and reflect and go, no more running. It's time to stop. It's just time to stop.
I can relate to that. I've spent a number of years running from states and towns and careers and jobs and everything across the way. And it's like, at what point do you actually stop running? So, what kind of happened like post that realization for you? How has that transpired?
It was exhausting. It was like, oh, I can't play the victim anymore. I can't play the, I was, that was so long ago, I was so young. I had to take responsibility and I had to take accountability. And that was hard, to put a mirror up to yourself and really dig in. 1, accept the part that I played in it. 2, accept responsibility. And 3, really apologize to myself for that and forgive myself. That was hard. It was really, really hard to sit there and say, I'm sorry. Because that wasn't ingrained in me. I didn't have that growing up. It was always, everybody else comes first. Put yourself first. Don't be so selfish. What are you doing? I remember, and I'm 49, and this is only a few years ago, when you're on the airplane and they drop down the oxygen mask and put your oxygen mask on first before you help someone else. And I'm like, but why would I do that? I need to help other people first. Well, then I realized, well, if I'm dead, I can't help you, can I? And I laugh at it now, but that's how ingrained it was. So to be able to give myself some compassion and some kindness and tell myself it's okay.
I love what you've said there in the 2 parts. The first part of actually not playing the victim, but being responsible for that's how you, or for the choices that you made that had you hide away and not be yourself and all of that kind of thing. But then on the other hand, actually have the self-compassion to forgive yourself, because 1, most people don't even take the responsibility and look at the part they've played in their lives. And it's probably the hardest shadow work you ever have to deal with. But on the other hand, to be able to turn around and say, okay, yes, that's who I was, that's what I did, but to actually forgive yourself, that too is crucial in moving forward. Like,
Yeah,
how did that end up like exposing itself in your life? Like, especially with going back to family and friends, and how did that all play out?
thinking about it, at any point I could have said no, and I can hear people say, "Oh, you could have said no. You didn't have to do all of this, all that work, or you didn't have to. You didn't have to." And it's like, yes, I could have said no. However, I didn't know how to say no. So to be able to come home, and I knew coming back home I was going to find my tribe because I couldn't find it in Australia. And I have some beautiful, beautiful friends, and I've met some beautiful people over there, but it wasn't my tribe. And then coming home and meeting like-minded people who I can connect with, who understand the journey that we've all been on, that's what's helped me project forward and help me propel and step into my healing, step into my authority, and step into, this is who I am. This is me. I'm crazy. I'm quirky. I also had a complete breakdown, not a breakthrough. People say it's a breakthrough. It sure as hell wasn't a breakthrough at 22. But that doesn't define me anymore. It was just something that happened to me in my early 20s and has helped shape me into who I am in my late 40s.
And I love what you said there, because so often we want to forget about aspects of ourselves or experiences from the past, and we allow that to define who we are in the current day. But it's about acknowledging that that is something that happened to us in the past, but it also happened for us so that we can step into who we're meant to be in the current day. And while we will always have those memories, sometimes those triggers, that it's how we get to respond in the current world that really shapes and defines us as we move forward.
Yeah, and I love how you say triggers because I knew my triggers. Did I push my triggers? Oh, naturally, I'm human and I would push them, and sometimes I push them too far. I would never go back to where I was at 22, but it would be close. However, did it stop me from repeating that? No, I just keep doing it. Sometimes I just wouldn't push them as far. So for me, understanding triggers, it was like, yes, I love it. I understand them. I respect them, but I didn't have boundaries for them because it was part of a self-punishment, a part of that shame, a part of that guilt, and a part of playing the victim.
And I love what you said about, pushing them yourself. And so do you find now that instead of actually pushing the button, your finger's almost on the trigger, but it's paused, and you can actually remove your finger from the trigger? Like, you can acknowledge the trigger in the moment and go, this is an old pattern, an old behavior, and then almost push the pause button and start to take like the opposite action.
Yeah, pretty much. But sometimes, just for fun, and I do, and I sit there and I'm like, I know what's going to happen. It's like, if you're going to touch a hot element, you're going to get burned. But I'm just like, I'm just going to touch it a little bit, just like I was right. No. That does hurt. So there is still part of me that wants to pull the trigger on that just to see how far I've come. And it's like, am I going to I know I'm not going to crumble, but sometimes I need to align that action. It's like, go on, do you? Just do it. Just do it. I still have that.
I think we all do. It's part of our human nature of what we experience. But I love your analogy of that. It's like, yeah, you do want to just give yourself that reassurance that you know that that's the outcome, but then having the growth and the understanding to go, yeah, okay, that is the outcome if I go that way, but I'm choosing not to do that. I've now got a new path to go down.
And it is about choosing because everything has value. For me, every decision I make, it all has value. You know, there's value in testing the boundaries, and then there's values in acknowledging I put the boundaries there for a reason. You know, in the moment, it may be, oh, this is all fun. However, I know that the next few days it's exhausting. Those next few days, it's hard to pull those old patterns back. So I put those boundaries for a reason. I've just got to get to a point and let them be, that they're there to help me, not to torment, not me, not to see, you know, can I push them further back? I've created them. I need to accept them and move on from them.
And I love that.
Thank you. It's very therapeutic. Sometimes, honestly, I just want to like kick it, you know, like get a sledgehammer to it and go, yeah, no, I don't like you today. I don't like you being there. I don't like you being a constant reminder that I'm unable to do everything that I think I should do. And again, it comes back to self-compassion. It comes back to kindness. It comes back to, I'm doing the best that I can do today.
And I think that's all we can do, is do our best on any given day. Like, nobody in this lifetime is perfect as much as we would like to think. And I think we were talking before about the love and hate relationship we have with social media, and that people watch social media as like these people's lives are the perfect expression of themselves. But that's all social media is that perfect moment in time. It's, for the most part, 90+% of people out there, they're only showing you the good shit. You never get to see the bad shit. So they think your life is perfect, and then they have these unrealistic expectations that they have to be the same. But that's not the case of reality.
And I just came back onto social media this year on Facebook, and I begrudgingly did that for business, having to come in and to expose. I like to use the word expose. It was like if you envision those old cameras and the photography back in the days, in the Western days, and it would like go boom and they're exposing the film. I always felt like that. Like I'm coming on, I'm getting bombarded with everything. I know what I'm seeing is not really necessarily the reality, but in my mind, it just fed the insecurity. Fed the insecurities. I haven't posted anything on my page in the last few days. I really don't want to share the inner grit that I'm doing at the moment. I am writing a chapter and a collaboration, and I don't want to share what I'm going through. I'm like, it's that I want to pour into my chapter, into my story. And so I've just backed off. I'm like, and it's okay. You know, there was a little bit of guilt first about you need to be seen, you need to be seen. And that, you know what? I need to be doing what's right for me.
100%. And I think that's a big lesson for everyone to take. And I know for me, even like I'm on social media, as most people would know, especially my listeners, but I pulled back over the last 10 days, 2 weeks, because I was caring for my niece with special needs, and nobody needs to see that journey. That journey was between me and her. And I didn't need to show up for everybody else, because primarily I needed to show up for her. And, I am a big one of, you see me, you get all of me, good and bad, the good, the bad, the ugly, but across my different resources, like whether it's my being an author, being a podcast host, being a coach, being a mother, being a wife, like you get all of me on my one page. I'm not going to only give you a little bit over here and, a podcast page, or a little bit over here in a business page. It's like, you want me, you get all of me. And I think, my opinion, as a world, is that's what we really need to come to, is that it's okay to be seen at whatever level you're at, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
I had yesterday, I was writing in my draft for the chapter I'm collaborating in, and it was all around shame. So a lot came up. there was a lot of heavy energy. I was feeling dizzy. I was feeling nauseous. I really felt like I was half in this world and half out. And I had a coaching client at 5 o'clock, and at 4 o'clock made the decision, I just don't have the energy to do this. And it was hard because I'm like, no, you should really just suck it up. And it's like, no, my client deserves everything from me. That's why we coach. And to be able to say, no, I can't give you that, was a double-edged sword. It was really like, yes, I'm listening to my body. Yes, I'm not pushing the boundaries, and shit, really? Can't you just suck it up once? So it was another beautiful lesson to learn today. I feel very proud of myself to be able to say, no, I can't give you what you need. I just need to give myself some time and space to top my cup up. And tomorrow will be a better day.
And I love that in the sense that so often we just keep saying yes and giving ourselves, we're emptying our own cup, but we're giving that half empty cup to somebody else. And as a client, if I had my coach say to me, sorry, today's not a good day, you're only going to get half of me and I want you to get all of me, can we reschedule? I'd be like, hell yeah, please do, because I'm not paying to get half of you, I'm paying to get all of you, like all the good stuff. So the fact that we can say no and set those boundaries that fill our own cup and then allow us to provide the overflow to our clients is such a better place to be in.
It's an amazing place to be in. I just get this vision of a painting, and it's an oil painting coming through, and they're very layered. And what was starting off with, the browns and you're feeling and being able to say, no, I can't give you what it is that you need. I just need to pull back, and I respect you and what your needs are. So much more colors coming through, because I know for a fact that my next session with my client is going to be so much bigger than any of the other ones, because I've shown up with my client and let them see that I too am vulnerable. I too need to put myself out there, or I too am having struggles. I'm human. So that builds that connection, and it's amazing.
Totally agree. And we need more of that connection, real connection, genuine connection, authentic connection in all of our worlds, because so often, even within the family, I mean, I look at it we're obviously recording this like a week before Christmas, and people will show up and pour half empty cups to the rest of their families over this season because that's what's expected. But at the same time, it's okay to pull back and go, actually, no, I don't have to do that. Today, it's not a full cup day.
We don't do Christmas per se. However, this year I wanted to, it costs $2.30 to send a stamp throughout New Zealand, a letter. I decided to, and I could have literally just driven 5 minutes and put them in my friend's mailbox, but I was like, no, I want to post it. I decided to give the gift of words. I got some beautiful pastel paper and hand wrote letters to 3 very important people that have had such a massive imprint on my life this year, and put them in the post. So they get to go to the letterbox and get a post instead of a bill. But I wanted it to be the gifts of words to let them know of 2024, how they have been instrumental in my healing process, how their friendship, compassion, and kindness has enabled me to shine my light brighter, enabled me to start accepting that I'm a pretty cool person. So to think about Christmas and we get all so consumed with it, just to be able to give the gift of word was just so much more gratifying than anything else that could come my way this year.
Such a beautiful concept.
It was fun.
That it's a gift of your time, a gift of your word, a gift of something special.
And $2.30 for a stamp.
Yeah, the postage system these days, like, yeah, let's not talk about that.
The fact is, I posted it Friday, and one of my friends got it Wednesday, which is like 5 days later, and I could have written it and then just put it in their mailbox instantaneously. But it's like, no, let's do the experience.
Yeah, but like you said, it's that experience of we're so used to these days just going to the mailbox, and 95% of the times it is just a bill sitting there waiting for us. We never People have stopped the art of writing letters, of writing cards, of just giving that time and energy into something loving that costs very, very little in the big scheme of things. And the expectation now is that you've got to spend this exorbitant amount of money on an exorbitant gift that means practically nothing in the big scheme of things. And when people, all they want is the connection, they want a little piece of us. And I love the idea that you've just given the gift of words. Like, that's such a beautiful concept.
One thing I was looking for those, if you remember, and listeners might remember, is the letter pack. And used to get the little matching envelopes, and then I could not for the life of me find them. I'm sure post Christmas I'll find them everywhere. But that was where the whole concept came through. I remember when I first moved to Australia, I would write letters to home to my friends, and I've still got a letter from my nana, who she passed away many years ago, and I've still got her letter, and it's handwritten, and she had the beautiful old-fashioned running writing. And so to be able to share that again, it was really a beautiful moment, and it just reminded me of being away and then sending them home.
Yeah. And speaking of home, now that you've had this, I say transformation in the last couple of months of being on this healing journey, have you been able to share that with home, with your family, to tell them of your experiences going back to in your 20s that you hid from them all those years ago?
Not really, no. No. I am waiting for the book to come out and I can read it.
They might not have to wait for the book. There is a podcast being recorded.
Like, oops. I've told a little bit to my older sister who's still in Brisbane in Australia. She goes, I didn't know. And it's like, well, how would you? I didn't tell. And there's part of me I don't want to relive it in the moment as I'm telling you. Writing it and sharing it with you, Trudy, and your listeners, it feels easier in the sense that I can disconnect. I honestly don't want to see their faces, the pity or the why didn't you? I don't want to go back to that, because it was never about anyone else. It was about me. And they can have a choice if they want to listen to the podcast or read part of the book. But for me right now, it's like, no, I'm so much further now on my journey. I just don't want to go back there and regurgitate and bring out wounds, because I am healing and it is a good day. And I really just don't want anything that comes part of it from anyone else.
I totally get it. And I really respect that you have chosen to do it in that way, because it's what works for you, not what works for everyone else.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I have done some growing.
And I think that, as the future moves forward and your clients get to experience the best of you as you heal yourself, you then start to heal others inside of that journey. Like, your clients will be so privileged to have you there guiding their way and holding their hand for support.
That is so kind, and I can really feel that, and now I'm getting emotional. And I appreciate you, Trudy, from the time that we had at Breakout Room. For the first time in a really long time, you saw the person inside me. Like, you saw my soul. You saw past the shame and the tears. So I take all of that in, and from my heart to yours, I'm so grateful that I got to share my breakthrough moment with you all those months ago. So grateful.
It's such a privilege to have experienced that with you and to experience today with you, to share part of your story, to be vulnerable, and to give a gift to the listeners that no matter what they've been through in their life at whatever age, they can still face it head on. They can still give themselves compassion, and they get to create a new future out of that, whatever shape that may take.
And I think most importantly, if I've learned anything, go find your joy. And I'm not talking about big gestures. I'm talking about anything that lights you up. For me, it was always been fish and chips. Oh my God, I love fish and chips. When we first moved home, I had like nearly 3 days a week. But you've got to find that joy, that just that little bit of joy. And I promise you, when you can find it and hold on to it, it helps everything that you have gone through, that you are going through, that little bit easier to manage. It really does.
I love that. Go find your joy. The one thing that I always ask my guests before finishing is, what are you most grateful for today?
Today, I am most grateful for, one, I woke up. I'm always grateful when I wake up. It means I've got another day to do what I need to do. But I'm grateful that I've got to share my story and I'm still standing. Fear, guilt, shame, all of those wonderful little emotions and those internal stories that we tell ourselves didn't get a play today. Joy did. So I'm grateful that I'm here today with you, Trudy, with your listeners, and I'm grateful that I have the strength today to share my story.
Thank you for tuning in to the Everyday Warriors podcast. If you have an idea for a future episode or a story you'd like to share yourself, then please message me, as I am always up for real, raw, and authentic conversations with other everyday warriors. If you love what you are hearing, please be sure to subscribe and hear all the latest episodes, and spread word to your family, friends, and colleagues so they can listen in too. If you are sharing on social media, please be sure to tag me at _Trudy_Marie_ so I can personally acknowledge you. I am always open to comment about how these episodes have resonated with you, the listener. It would also mean the world to me if you were to leave a 5-star review to ensure that the Everyday Warrior podcast is heard by more listeners around the world. And remember, lead with love as you live this one wild and precious life.